Here is a question that might sting. Why do you keep working harder every single year and still feel further away from being wealthy than ever? You were told the formula. Work hard, save money, stay loyal, be patient. So you did all of it. You showed up early, you stayed late. You skipped the things you wanted, and you waited. And yet the freedom you were promised keeps drifting further out of reach. Here is the uncomfortable truth. It was never your effort that was broken. It was the rules you were handed, because the people at the very top understand something they will never say out loud. The game of wealth has a hidden set of rules, and those rules are kept quiet on purpose. The moment you actually see them, you stop playing just to survive, and you start playing to win. Money does not flow to the smartest person in the room, or even the hardest working one. It flows to the person who understands power, influence, and timing. Over the next 30 minutes, you are going to learn 7 ruthless moves that separate the people who rise fast from the people who stay stuck for decades. Not theory, not motivation, strategy. If you are tired of doing everything right and still falling behind, stay with me, because by the end, you will not just understand why you are stuck. You will understand exactly how to get out. Before you can build real wealth, you have to kill the biggest lie you have ever been told about it. Here it is. You were taught that money comes from working harder, that if you just put in more hours, more effort, more sweat, the money will eventually follow. It sounds fair. It sounds honest, and it is almost completely wrong. Look around you. Some of the hardest working people you know are not rich. Think about the nurse pulling double shifts, the teacher grading papers late into the night, the driver on the road before the sun even comes up. These people work harder than most wealthy people ever will, and yet year after year they stay exactly where they are. Why? Because they are selling something that runs out. They are selling time. And here is the problem with time. You only get so much of it. There are only 24 hours in a day, and you cannot work more than all of them. The moment your income depends only on your hours, you hit a ceiling. A hard, invisible wall. You can run faster and faster inside that box. But the walls never move. This is the trap that keeps you running in place. Now watch what the wealthy do instead. They do not sell their hours. They build things that work, whether they are awake or asleep. A business, a system, an asset that keeps producing long after the work is done. When you work for an hour, you get paid once. When you build something that other people use, you can get paid again and again from the same effort. Picture 2 people. One spends Saturday working an extra shift for a little overtime. The other spends that same Saturday building something once, something that keeps selling every weekend after that. Same day, same effort, a completely different future. Your effort was never the problem. Effort just keeps you busy. What you have been missing is leverage. So if hard work is not the engine of wealth, then what is? The answer is something most people are quietly taught to fear. It is power. Wealth does not move toward the busiest person. It moves toward the person whose decisions control outcomes. The person who decides what gets built, who gets hired, where the money goes, and when the move happens. That is power. And power, not sweat, is what money quietly follows. Think about any company you have ever worked for. The people doing the most physical work are rarely the ones earning the most. The real money sits with whoever controls the system. Think about a small coffee shop. The barista behind the counter pours every drink by hand, works the full shift, and gets paid only for those hours. The owner may not even be in the room, yet earns from every single cup, every day, in every location they open. The barista is paid for effort. The owner is paid for control. Nothing about that gap is about working harder. It is about who sits where the value flows through. If you want to rise fast, you cannot just work inside a system. You have to position yourself where your choices move the money, not just your hands. You own a piece of the business. You lead the people. You direct the attention. You control the asset. Notice the pattern. Every one of those is a position, not a task. And here is the part most people never think about. Power is not only about money or ownership, a huge part of it is psychological. Human beings are wired to follow certainty. When someone moves with confidence and clear direction, people naturally line up behind them. They give that person their trust, their attention, their effort, and sometimes their money. The person who has both control and confidence becomes almost magnetic. Opportunities find them, money finds them, doors that stay locked for everyone else quietly open. And this one is the hardest to hear. Because the thing keeping you stuck is not a villain, it is not bad luck, it is comfort. The safe, sensible, responsible life you were taught to chase is the very cage holding you in place. Here is how the trap works. You take the stable job, you get the steady paycheck. You tell yourself you are being smart, being responsible, doing the right thing. And in a way you are. It feels safe, but safe is slow, and slow Bommel, when it comes to wealth, is dangerous. Because comfort does something quiet and deadly. It removes the pressure to grow. When your bills are covered and your routine is predictable, the part of you that takes bold action goes to sleep. You stop reaching. You stop risking. You settle into a life that is fine, and fine is exactly where most dreams go to die. Now think about the real price of that comfort. Picture giving 30, maybe 40 years of your life to a job, showing up every morning, giving your best energy, your sharpest hours, your most creative ideas. And who are you giving them to? Someone else. You are spending the best decades of your life building someone else's empire, while they use your time to accelerate their own fortune. The comfort that feels like security is actually a slow trade. You hand over your years, and in return, you get just enough to keep showing up and doing it again tomorrow. That is not security. That is survival dressed up as success. A prison with no bars is the hardest one to escape, because you never even try the door. Everything you have learned so far is useless without this move. Because the single biggest advantage you can have is not money, not connections, not even talent. It is speed. Most people lose the game before they ever start. And they lose it the same way. They wait until they have more money. They wait until they know more. They wait until the timing is perfect, until the market is right, until they feel ready. And that ready moment, it almost never comes. Here is the uncomfortable truth about waiting. Most of the time, it is not patience. It is fear wearing a mask, fear of looking foolish, fear of losing what little you have, fear of being wrong, and that fear is clever, because it disguises itself as being careful, as being smart, as doing your research. But while you are busy researching, someone bolder is busy doing. Look at any trend, any new platform, any exploding opportunity. Who wins the most? Almost always the people who moved first. Not because they were the smartest in the room, but because they acted while everyone else was still debating whether it was safe. By the time the crowd finally feels comfortable, the real advantage is already gone. So how do you break out of that? You build a bias for action. You train yourself to move before you feel ready. Because clarity does not come from thinking, it comes from doing. You learn more from one real attempt than from 100 hours of overthinking. 2 tools you can use today. First, the 24-hour rule. When you get an idea worth chasing, take one real action on it within the next 24 hours. Not a plan, not a list, one real step. Action within a day keeps the idea alive. Second, use fear as a compass, not a stop sign. The move that scares you most is often the one with the biggest upside. This is the heart of everything. The one thing that decides whether your life stays flat for another 10 years or finally starts to bend upward. Leverage. With the right lever, a small push can move something massive. Without it, you can push with all your strength for years and barely move anything at all. Wealth works exactly the same way. Most people try to build it with raw effort alone. The wealthy find the lever, and suddenly every move they make produces a result far bigger than the energy they put in. There are 4 levers you can start pulling. The first lever is money. Using capital to create more capital. One smart investment can keep paying you for years, long after the decision was made. While you sleep, that money is out there, working a second job you never have to show up for. The second lever is people. On your own, your output is limited to your own 2 hands and your own hours. But with the right people around you, your impact multiplies. One person handles the part you are weak at. Another runs the system while you focus on growth. Stop being the worker. Start directing the work. The third lever is knowledge, not collecting more information. Knowing what matters before everyone else does. Knowing which space is about to explode. Knowing what people are about to want. The right piece of knowledge at the right time gives you timing, and timing is how ordinary people make extraordinary moves. The fourth lever is attention. In the modern world, attention is currency. One single video can reach thousands of people. One idea that connects can reach millions. One message can create customers, partnerships, and income that keeps flowing. That is leverage in its purest form. One action, unlimited result. Now here is the mistake almost everyone makes. They try to do all of it alone. Carrying everything yourself is not strength. It is a ceiling. The person who insists on moving alone moves like a snail. The person who pulls these levers moves like a storm. Most people spend all their energy on the work, and almost none on how that work is seen. But here is the hard truth. In the real world, perception is power. How people see you often matters just as much as what you can actually do. You can be talented, capable, and hardworking, and still be ignored, simply because the world does not perceive you as someone worth betting on. And someone with half your skill can race ahead of you simply because they look the part and carry themselves like they belong at the top. We judge quickly. We make decisions about people in seconds, long before we ever see proof. If you are seen as credible, sharp, and confident, opportunities come to you faster. Customers trust you faster. Partners reach out. People want to be associated with someone who looks like they are going somewhere. Reputation can move money before results even arrive. An investor backs the founder who seems certain. A client hires the one who sounds like an authority. A door opens not because of what you have already built, but because of what people believe you are about to build. Perception arrives first. The money follows. So start treating how you show up as part of the work, not an afterthought. The way you speak, the way you present your ideas, the confidence you carry into a room. And in today's world, you have a tool earlier generations never had. You can build that perception in public at scale. Every post, every video, every message is a chance to shape how thousands of people see you. But let me be clear about something. Perception is not about faking who you are. It is about making sure your real value is actually seen, instead of hidden. The most dangerous thing is not being unqualified. It is being good and invisible. This move is different from the rest, because everything you have learned so far will start to work. You will pull your levers, you will move with speed, you will build how the world sees you, and the moment that happens, something you did not expect will show up. Resistance. The moment you begin to rise, people change toward you. The same people who ignored you when you were stuck will suddenly have opinions about you when you start to win. Some will doubt you. Some will quietly resent you. Some will secretly hope you fail, just so the world makes sense to them again. This is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you are finally doing something right. People do not attack what feels small and irrelevant. They react to what threatens the story they tell themselves about their own life. There is a pattern here. Once you see it, you will never fear criticism the same way again. It moves in 3 stages. First, they doubt you. They tell you it will not work, that you are being unrealistic, that you should play it safe. Then, when you keep going, the doubt turns into envy. They see you moving while they stayed still, and finally, if you push through long enough, the envy turns into imitation. The very people who mocked your path start quietly walking it themselves. Doubt, envy, imitation. That is the cycle, so when the criticism comes, do not see it as a stop sign. See it as a marker on the map telling you that you are actually moving forward. Silence means you are invisible. Resistance means you are rising. 7 moves. 1 truth. The fastest way to build wealth is not random, and it is not luck. It comes down to 3 things. Position. You place yourself where real growth is possible instead of grinding where the ceiling is low. Perception. You make sure the world sees your value so opportunity flows toward you. Precision. You act boldly and quickly when the right moment appears, while everyone else hesitates. Leverage, timing, courage. Those 3 things working together are what separate the people who rise from the people who stay stuck. The people who seem to rise overnight